tried to record this show hours ago, didn't get a chance. Literally, I think my phone started getting text messages at like 7:30, 7:45 this morning. I was off to the races, running around. I did not stop for one single second. It is now 8 p.m., so I have been literally like 12 hours nonstop on the go today. Felt tired. I was like, no, I want to get this show in. So sat down. I was like, it's now or never. So here we are. Welcome to the show. My name is Michael. I am a women's photographer from New Jersey and have worked with hundreds and hundreds of women through the course of my career. And every week, mostly every week, we have this little show where we're answering a question about women's photography. Because as we know, it's a minefield out there. And people think it's like so simple, so easy to go in. Oh, I'm just going to go on Google and find a women's photographer. And then what often ensues after that is chaos. So we're here to answer some questions, get you some good information so you can make smart choices when you're going out and picking your photographer. And so you walk away going, wow, that was really fun. And I had a great time and it was worth it, rather than going, oh, what just happened to me? Because we don't want that to happen. I've heard it way, way too many times through the course of my career. So welcome. If you're a new listener, if you've been listening to other episodes prior, welcome back. Glad to have you. Like I said, we're going to make this a little bit of a shorter show tonight, but nevertheless, it's nutrition packed with information to help you out. So here we is. And if you haven't, you could, after listening to the show, go one back. Did you hear last week's show at all? Well, when you're done with this one, you can go back. I think last week's show was, would you say there was a cult mentality behind boudoir photography? Now, I was a little bit more awake on that show. There's a lot of interesting information in that episode, so check it out. After you listen to this one, you may learn a thing or two about the world of women's photography. You probably weren't expecting it. You probably were not expecting cult behavior in boudoir, but it's there. And then we talk about it a little bit on that episode. So check that one out. And as always, what we're going to do is we're going to give the photographers a couple of seconds to hit the stop and get out of here. This show is not for photographers, so just give them a moment or two to get out of here while I sip my refreshing beverage. I really need some caffeine, but this is definitely not anything with caffeine in it. It's good though. Switched. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Spindrift. Have you been drinking Spindrift? It is just like seltzer with fruit juice in it. So no sugar, better than soda. So Spindrift will get me through my balance of this episode tonight. It's just good. I don't get sponsored. This podcast isn't big enough to get sponsored. Just always drinking beverages because I could hardly get through 30 minutes of talking without my voice like giving out or sounding like now horse flowery. I was going to say Polony. So here he is. So tonight, our show is something a little less serious than last week. And I guess you saw on the title of this episode, but tonight's show is, do I need to bring my own lingerie to a boudoir shoot? Or do you, meaning the photographer, provide it? Now, if there is one question that I've gotten like a bazillion times in my career, it's probably this one. This is, probably one of the most topped asked questions by getting an email. Do you provide me with lingerie? Do you have an outfit closet that I can use? Do I have to buy my own outfits? It's something that you just hear all the time if you are a women's photographer. And the reason being, because everybody does something a little bit differently. So we're going to chat about this a little bit tonight, give you some information about this. And, we're here to sort of, as I noted, give you all the information to decide what's going to work best for you. And so this is just one of those questions that women don't always know the answer. They don't know what's going on, and sometimes yes, sometimes no. And really, I'll give you a little background sort of on this and in my hay fevery voice before it gives out. And some photographers do offer clients lingerie closets. You know, this is something that, how do I describe this? This is something that has like been around for a long time in photography. You know, most people don't do this, but there was a lot of like really old schooly boudoir photographers that kind of did this. You know, they would have all these outfits, and so people have seen this or heard this, or you know, maybe they think that's what goes on with women's photography. And I've seen people who have, or photographers who have pretty extensive collections. Actually, they tout these collections. I've seen people on Instagram showing their lingerie closets, and there could be dozens and dozens of outfits and robes and all kinds of stuff hanging, and you know, all these curated things, and it's impressive. Like when you see it, and I guess for some clients, this could be like a fun perk because, you know, it takes the pressure off going shopping for stuff beforehand. I guess it can save you some money. We'll get into that a little bit because, you know, bras are like really expensive now, and it's something you may only use one time. Maybe you don't want to spend that money on that. However, you know, it's important to really ask some questions about these items, and boudoir photographers being boudoir photographers, I definitely have quite a few questions for them in asking about certain cleanliness procedures when it comes to these items. So I'm going to chat about that a little bit in this episode. And as far as me and what I've always done is, yeah, I was never really a lingerie provider for sessions. There's a few reasons that I've never really got into this. Now, first and foremost, you know, as far as I go, it's always been sort of one of those like hygiene concerns. I know that I wouldn't want to be wearing the same underwear somebody else has been wearing. I know I wouldn't want to be doing laundry after every session for someone wearing a bunch of stuff in my, you know, lingerie closet. You know, it's like used over and over again. That was just never my bag, I guess. However, what I have learned and how I operate is that I usually may have a few strategic basic items that I always have on hand. I mean, like black thongs, or maybe like black bra sets, or maybe I may have a few like white sets that I have with me. A couple of things I always have with me, maybe a couple of robes. And once in a while, in my case, what I would see or come across was like a certain accessory. And I'm trying to think, the one I had a couple of years ago that I just would buy. It was like some kind of a multi-strappy like garter thing. It had like leather, multiple bands that went around. And it was like pretty cute, and I bought them. I would buy something like that. I was like, ooh, this really looks good in photos, and I would use it a couple of times and just give it away to somebody, because then you kind of get sick of seeing something like that in the pictures all the time. So I would tend to buy maybe some interesting items like that, and nothing like super hygienic underwear-y things, but, you know, like stuff that you could reuse and not have to worry about it. And I'd give it away to somebody after a few sessions. That was what I would tend to do. Now, I would always have, once in a while, a woman come in and say, ooh, I want to do some like black and white photos, and all the underwear she brought in was like purple or green or something, and like colors never translate well like that into black and white. They just don't give you that contrasted kind of a thing. So I may have some black bra sets with me or something like that I would let somebody use if there was a situation where they wanted something black, didn't bring something, or they should have something black and didn't have black. I would have a few outfits like that. that I would use, but I never really had a large laundry closet. In my instance, when these items were never reused, if a client wanted something, it was just, I'm not like taking it back. I give them the outfit and they keep it. So that's more or less the way that I've always operated over the years. I never saw the need to have a giant collection of stuff. I just didn't want to deal with the work that goes along with that. And, there are pros and cons, I guess, to both sides of this. I said the one thing for me has always been like why I am a non-lingerie type person, like I said, is hygiene. Seems always like really obvious to me, but maybe other people don't quite think that same way. And like I said, underwear is an intimate item. It's coming into contact with your body. And, if you're taking someone else's corset or something like off, that's been on a bunch of other, that may or may not disturb you. But to me, I don't want to wear anybody else's used underwear. But again, that's not me. Part of it has always been for me as well that maybe sharing lingerie isn't appealing or appropriate for a luxury kind of experience that I hate to say that word, I hate to call myself that, but you know what I mean? Maybe that's not just how my business or what the people expect to use stuff when they come in to see me. And again, as I noted, providing one-time use items really sort of does away with a lot of those concerns. So if someone came in and I didn't have something with them, I would whip out one of the few things I had and give it to them, whether it's a robe or whatever, we use it, and then they just sort of took it. I don't want it back. Just was cost of doing business in my session. So that's more or less like I operated. I always felt brand new stuff, fresh out of the box, clean. Don't have to worry about it. Customers aren't worrying about it. They can see because they're opening it for the first time. Everything's wrapped, has the tags in it, and just take it. It's part of doing the business. Another reason why I never personally got into providing a lingerie wardrobe was just fit. Because if you don't know, women are really coming in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and maybe everybody doesn't fit in one size. So if you run into sizing issues, it's too big, it's too small, it's whatever the case may be. And I was not going to be stocking a full range of sizes of all different items. Now again, I know there are photographers that do that. They have racks and racks of clothing, spending all this money, and I guess it's fun. But for me, I was just not going out and buying 3 or 4 of everything, one in each size, and not having something in one size. Oh, this is not your size. They can't wear it, or it's too big, or it's too small. It just seemed like a lot of extra work. And I think it's just unrealistic to start, having sizes for all kinds of people that come in. And what people underestimate here is how proper fit is so important for something to look cute in photos. And I've had women even bring in their own stuff that didn't fit right, and baggy and droopy, and when things don't fit right, they're moving around and stuff is popping out. So it's not always necessarily the best option. And I'm not going to have small, medium, and large or all different. It's just too much work for me to get involved in. So another reason why I did do that. And a third is, how do I know what somebody else likes? Now there are some things that may be cute, like I said, an accessory. It's not for everybody, but I wouldn't know how every woman has sort of different tastes. Everybody has their own personal style. Somebody likes, another person doesn't, and it just goes on and on and on. My favorite color is white, it's red, it's black, it's green. So how would I know somebody else's personal style? This is really something best for a woman to choose and pick what they like. And clients often have their own vision in mind, or they want to bring something meaningful, or they bring an outfit that is his favorite, or something like that. And if you're providing outfits for people, you can't know what somebody's favorite is and have that sort of and bring them along. And then sort of on the opposite side of this, some potential positives about this is that some clients may be unsure of what they should bring in or what to buy. And maybe if you're the photographer and there's a whole rack of stuff, they may say, ooh, this may look cute on you. Ooh, this looks good on you, and stuff like that. And they can walk you through it. I mean, on the client side, as I noted before, you can save some money, possibly, if you're working with a photographer that has a whole bunch of items there, because we know this stuff ain't cheap. Shein stuff is not expensive. Stuff like that is not super expensive. But now, if you go to like Victoria's Secret or Honey Burnett or any company like that, these outfits can get over $100 or more, sometimes even a lot more. And so, that's a big expenditure for a lot of people to buy an outfit. Now, it may look great, but if it's not something that you're normally wearing and you're coming into a session and you're just wearing it that one time and it's going in a closet or a drawer and it's never going to be used again, that's a big expense for something that's not going to get a lot of use, or something that's only going to be worn one time. So I can understand the benefit if there's like a lingerie closet or certain pieces that, I would never go out and buy that, but I'll use it during the session and you don't have to worry about spending that extra money. And then also, as I noted, photographers can help be somewhat of a stylist and help the people choose like flattering pieces. So if someone's there and they know what they have, they go, ooh, I know what would look really cute on you and what's going to work for you and so forth. So you can see it's not one of those situations where there's necessarily a right or wrong answer. I think that, it's fine if there's a photographer that is providing wardrobe. It saves you money. I don't think they're going to be providing your whole wardrobe. Usually there are some, and I've seen like photographers that have dozens and dozens and racks and racks of outfits, of bodysuits to wear. A lot of it is accessories. They may buy those fancy angel wings or outfits that you would never buy yourself to go in and do a photo shoot with. Some of it is more like accessory stuff. Like I said, like robes. I used to always have a lot of robes, like sheer robes, like sheer black robes or different kind of robes I always used to put on. Big thing I would have was like sweaters in the winter. Believe it or not, like longer sweaters I always thought were cute off the shoulder. So I would bring a sweater because I don't think it's as, reusing a sweater with somebody is a little bit different. But, there may be situations where that's great. And, maybe you don't necessarily need a ton of outfits if you're going into your shoot. And, again, to complicate the issue is something I would always tell people to do. And my process is really talking about this a lot up front and addressing this with clients to see if they have any ideas or what they're looking at. But I think you don't necessarily need a lot of outfits when you go into your session. I think people often think you need like 30 things, to buy 30. You don't. You only need 2 or 3 really nice things. You can get by with 2 really great looking outfits and get through a whole session. Variety is fun, but I would always rather have people spend the money on 1 or 2 really good things and buy 10 cheap Amazon-y bodysuits that have no elasticity to them. Boudoir dreams are not made out of that crap, and they never have been. So there's both sides of this issue, but you don't necessarily need a lot of things. If you're the type of person that's okay wearing somebody else's bodysuit or corset, knock yourself out. Find a photographer who has like a wardrobe. You can have fun doing pictures and changing. I would assume they're all washing the stuff and keeping it clean, and it's confusing. And I get it. Like I said, we get a lot of wardrobe questions as photographers, and women are not alone with this confusion. And photographers are believe it or not, really helpful in this area. So always ask if you have a question. And usually, if your photographer is providing outfits, they do show that on their website, or they talk about their lingerie closets or their selections. And you could always ask them if that's interested to you, and then what sizes, or maybe items. You can have that discussion to see if they have something that you like. You don't have to go and buy it. You're okay wearing used lingerie, then hey, it may look cute in your pictures, and as long as they're running their business and keeping stuff clean and tidy, I don't see an issue with that. Or, do a lot of homework, and most women, like in my universe, I always found too, are pretty good at picking out the things that they need and bringing them in. But if there's something very particular, I know, like I said, there are photographers that specialize with, and I haven't seen it as much lately, but those angel wings, they buy these like multi-$1,000 Victoria's Secret like angel sets, and that's something that's a little silly to buy for yourself when it costs that much. So your photographer may have something like that for you to use, and that's fine. That's good. So you can see there's not one right or wrong way when it comes to lingerie and whether you should provide it or your photographer should provide it. I think this really boils down to, what you're comfortable with, what your expectations are. And if you're going to be, having a good options with them, and you're okay wearing, like used underwear and stuff like that, or bodysuits or whatever they may have, and go in and have a good time, go through their wardrobe closets. But I think this is something you're seeing a bit less than you used to. I think that was more of a standard a decade or so ago. And I think there's fewer photographers that do this now. Because I think also, too, it's not really economically prudent for photographers to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of dollars on lingerie that have these giant shelves that maybe just get used once or twice, and, you have too many things. It's just a bit unnecessary. Too many choices is not always the best option, sort of as well. So they're out there. If that's something you're interested in, you could always ask. Because I know that I get that a couple times a year. I get emails. Do you provide outfits for women, or do I have to bring my own? So you're not the only one ever. And I just kind of tell all the people emailing me that what I've just told you is that I do not have a few things I bring with me, but by and large, that's not a system I sort of use in my sessions. Your photographer near you may work differently, and that's perfectly okay. But once again, this is one of those things that don't assume one way or the other. If you're really looking for someone who has a lingerie, just ask. You have to ask them if they have a closet, and if they don't, then that may not be the right fit for you, and you have to decide what's important, what's going to make your session, and if you don't have to use a photographer's, you don't have to use the photographer's clothes if you don't want to. Certainly, you bring your own and do your own thing. I think they do that more as a fun thing to give you more outfits, which is fine to do. So both approaches, as you can see, have their pros and cons to them. It's not a right or wrong situation in photography. And as always, clients should do, what makes them feel their best, or what makes them feel the most comfortable and confident in their session. And we all want everybody to walk out feeling happy with smiles and looking back and saying, those pictures are cute. I had a good time and this was all wonderful. So the bottom line is it really boils down to you and what's going to make you feel good and what you want to get out of your session. So don't assume that outfits are always going to be provided. Don't assume that they're always not. You have to check on a per case basis and then figure out what's important to you. And then, choose the photographer that gives you the option that works sort of best for you. And most are like, no lingerie, no problem. They kind of bring their own things, but I'm sure there are some women out there who think it would be really fun to swap and have a big closet to pick through and pick some outfits that they may like, and that's fine too. So there you go. That's our little chat tonight about lingerie and should photographers provide it. Hopefully that was fun and useful and a little bit more information for you here this week. So we're just going to leave it there, wrap it up at that. I've had a full day. We've talked a lot about lingerie. I ate a big giant homemade stew today, so now I just want to go and sit down, relax, take the remaining hour and a half or so of my day today and keep it for myself. A little me time just to do nothing. And I need some quiet sometimes, and that's fine. So thanks everybody again for stopping by this week. Just going to get out of here, leave you with those thoughts. Any questions again about boudoir photography in general? Not necessarily that I'm going to be your photographer, but just reach out to me. At this point, I'm getting like a couple of questions every month in my email on my website, and that's great. And happy to answer any questions you may have. It's just important to ask and walk into a bad situation. So you can always reach out to me. And then that's it for tonight. And I will see everybody on the next show. So thanks for listening, and bye-bye.